Hey, sports fans, PB&Z, Sports Chaos, we're back at you. And the Olympics have kicked off if you've been paying attention. I know it's on the other side of the world. It's up at, 12 in the morning or something like that when you can watch it. I don't know. But we'll talk a little Olympics briefly. We're going to talk NFC West momentarily. We got our forecast. I personally think this is the best division of football, so I can't wait to hear what PB has to say about it. But before we go there, we've got to acknowledge the Milwaukee Bucks. They were down 0-2, and I was already saying congratulations to PB because he liked the Suns all along, and then 4 straight. But the most incredible thing I thought was the play of Giannis. I mean, we talked about it last week. Without a doubt, he's in the top 5 in NBA today, players. And the performance he put on in the last game to close out, 50 points. What do you have, like 14, 17 rebounds? I forget what it was, and 5 blocks. I mean, personally, maybe Magic Johnson back in 1980, but I've never seen a closeout game like that in my life by one player.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing to watch. Not just that game, but every game leading up to that. Giannis was just carried that team, was on fire, put up some ridiculous numbers, broke records for playoffs performances. So good for the Bucks.
And by the way, the other guys showed up in the other games like Middleton and Holiday, but the last game, it was Giannis, and they even admitted it. They said, we rode Giannis's back. So good for them. Hey, speaking of riding backs, the Red Sox, they've been kicking butt over the Yankees this year. They finally lost. They get about 3-0 lead. PB, get this, DYK. 45-game winning streak the Red Sox had going. 45 games when they've been up three runs.
Wow.
I didn't know that. That blew my mind when I read that.
Well, that speaks to the bullpen too, right?
Yeah. Well, and the Yankees bullpen the night before was horrendous. 4 wild pitches to blow the game. Where was Aaron Boone, the manager? After the first 2, why would you pull that guy out? Aaron Boone, did he take a nap? Did he fall asleep? I don't get it.
I know. Closing's kind of interesting this year. I mean, even Kensley Jansen, if you noticed, the last 2 times he came out, he's let up 7 runs in like 2/3 of an inning or something.
Dodgers have not looked good at all. The Giants and the Red Sox, as we talked about last week, are still the biggest surprises in baseball, and they continue to do it. Good for them.
I know.
Hey, real quick, NHL draft this week, PB, another first. 3 University of Michigan kids taken in the first 5. That's never been done, I don't believe, right?
Wow, pretty impressive. No,
by the way, how did University of Michigan do in the NCAAs?
They're a hockey machine, though. So,
but they didn't win the finals, right?
No.
Imagine that. All right. Hey, so we got Olympics going on. Women's soccer. Who saw this coming? They lost the first game 3-0 to Sweden. They come back and won yesterday 6-1 over New Zealand. But I never expected that to happen. So a little wake-up call for Team USA.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, group play. They're gonna advance. As long as they advance, then they'll get in the knockout round, and then at that point, they may meet up with Sweden again. That's one team that might give them a challenge. But other than that, I mean, the Canadian women are pretty good. Japan usually puts a decent team on the field for women, but they should run away with this thing. As long as they don't play the same way they did against Sweden the first time around.
Meanwhile, on the basketball front, USA already lost the first game in group play. On the men's side, they lost to France this morning, I guess that was. So there's a good chance this USA team will not win a medal at those Olympics.
The men?
Yeah.
Oh, the men definitely won't. Yeah.
Wow. All right. We're going to talk real quick. We're going to talk NFC West, but 2 big things happened in football this week. First of all, in the college football, the landscape took a big change when the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma said they're going to leave the Big 12 to go to the SEC. Mind-blowing, PB, in my mind, because one, you're not going to be a contender every year as you are in the Big 12. And Texas, first of all, they're struggling as it is in the Big 12. They go to the SEC, they could be a perennial basement team. Oklahoma's a perennial champion in the Big 12. They might be lucky to win it 1 out of every 5 years. So why would you do this?
Yeah, there may be some money involved for the schools there. The competition level, it might help your recruiting, knowing that you're going to be playing against the likes of, Alabama and LSU and Florida every single year. Georgia, there's some powerhouses there in the SEC that, look at the first round of the draft. The first round of draft, it's all SEC.
All SEC. Yeah, no, you're right.
Right? So
Well,
how am I going to recruit in Big 12 when all of these athletes are all coming out of the SEC? There's got to be something there behind it.
I think you hit the two things on the head. I think it's recruiting and the other thing, money. Because get this, PB, both teams must pay a $76 million penalty to leave the Big 12. So you're going to pay $76 million to get out, to go to the other conference. They must be making over $100 million a year, each one of those schools then.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose money in the long run. It wouldn't be a good move, right?
Meanwhile, if you're a non-collegiate athlete at those schools and you're hearing the school's going to pay $76 million, would you ever want to pay tuition again? I'd be like, no, I'm going here for free. Stop me.
I know, right? That's a good point. It's an excellent point. But you know what it's going to do? It's going to make the Big 12 a weaker conference because probably, definitely Oklahoma, one of the strengths in the Big 12. And that's just going to strengthen the SEC even more. Like you said, Texas has been, traditionally is a top team in that Big 12. Recent years, not so much.
Right.
But still, it's going to make the SEC just that much more intense.
I think the Big 12's gone. I think in 5 years, there'll be no Big 12. That conference will be gone.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. The other big news we're going to get to, well, speaking of that, so the other thing, the SEC, they said, by the way, no postponements. We're going to talk about this with the NFL in a moment. If you can't play, most likely you're going to forfeit the game. You and I have been talking about this for weeks now, that sooner or later you're just going to call it on the carpet. And right after that, the NFL came out and said,
same thing.
No postponements, right? No cancellations. You play or you forfeit, essentially, which I understand some guys don't want to get vaccines, but you know what? At some point in time, you got to do the right thing. And now, if the game gets forfeited, not only does your team lose its paycheck, the other team loses its game check. PB?
Yeah. Well, you got to do something there. I mean, you're looking at, obviously there's a players union that's stepping in here because they're telling the players in the league they don't have to get vaccinated if they don't want to. Now, 85% of them are, but if you got players that aren't vaccinated, they're going to have to go by different rules than the players who are. So they're going to make it difficult for them. I don't understand why the players union, especially with news of these forfeits and losing paychecks, doesn't step in and just say, hey, we're going to mandate vaccines. The tier 1 personnel for all the NFL teams have to get vaccinated. It's a mandatory thing. If you want to work in the organization, if you're anywhere around that stadium and players, equipment people, trainers, all that tier 1 personnel, they have to be vaccinated. And we're seeing some people now in that tier 1 organization get let go, like the coach from Minnesota just, a couple days ago. Yeah. At this point, it's good riddance. It's like, if you're going to be that stubborn, then and you can't keep your job with a rule that's in place, oh, well,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can't wait to see. I'll be curious what the first team is that forfeits. That's going to be unbelievable. All right, let's get on to the schedule here. I was looking at this NFC West schedule, and I was trying to put together my thoughts on it. And I'm like, I think every one of these teams are going to be over 500, first of all, by a lot, 3 of them anyway. So let's run through probably what maybe, I don't know. In my mind, it's probably the weakest team, but they're still going to be over 500. Let's start out with Arizona. What's your thoughts on Arizona this year?
Yeah, I got them as the weakest team too. Last year I picked them to make it to the playoffs, and I think did they make it or they just missed it by a game at the end there? I think they lost like 2 or 3 straight down the stretch.
Right. They just missed it.
But they were my surprise team last year, and they did play some good football and beat some good teams. That being said, I'm looking at the schedule this year. Vegas has them at 8 for an under/over, which in the old world would mean there would be a 500 team at 8-8, right? But in the new world, it means they're 8-9, so they'd be just under 500. I have them missing that mark by a game and actually going 7-10.
7-10, huh?
Yeah, they got some tough games. They got to play at Cleveland. And unlike what you said earlier, I think these teams are going to fit. The rest of them will finish over 500, but not by a lot. I think this division could beat up on each other. So we might see, even though it's a strong division, they could split. Every team could split every one of their games, right? Which makes them all starting off 4-4.
I have everybody but Arizona splitting. I have Arizona getting swept by the Rams, but everybody else splits.
Okay, well then that should right. So they're they got to play at Cleveland. They got to play.
Yep. At Tennessee, game 1.
At Tennessee, yep, that's a big one. They got to play at Dallas.
Yep.
Late in the year, which could mean something. Of course, they got all three of their divisional opponents, Rams, Niners, and Seahawks all on the road too.
And they got
Tough
three.
teams.
Their other
What's
three
that?
home non-division games are at home are Minnesota, Green Bay, and the Colts, which are all losable games, right? Even though they're at
Right.
home.
Yeah, but I do like Kyler Murray. I think he's doing some good things with that offense. They did draft Rondell Moore, the wide receiver out of Purdue, in their second round. I think he's a flashy player. He could do some things there. I know on special teams he'll definitely be involved. And I like their first round pick. I mean, we both liked Zaven Collins as well, the outside linebacker out of Tulsa.
Yeah.
I thought he would go higher than what was predicted. Both of us predicted him to, and he did. He ended up going pretty high in the draft, all things considered. I think he was taken like 16th overall by the Cardinals. So a little bit help there on defense. This team could surprise. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this team wins a game or two that we're expecting to lose and gets to 5. Well, you can't go 500 anymore.
Right. I get them 9-8, and depending on the Green Bay game, 10-7.
Wow. Okay. I got them at 7-10.
All right.
I think it's a tough ride for them.
Let's go to Seattle. What do you think with Seattle?
Yeah. So Seattle, both Seattle and San Francisco, I'm going to put right on the number with Vegas. Vegas has both those teams at 10. I got them at 10 as well. So Seattle, to me, this year is 10-7. They're bringing back essentially the same team they had last year. They only had 3 draft picks in the entire draft. So not a real big chance to do anything there. I think their first pick that they had was something in the second round. It may have even been late second round. And they grabbed Eskridge, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Yeah. But they don't really, was that the smartest pick for them to make? I mean, they have, Lockett and DK Metcalf on that team as the 1 and 2 receivers right now. I'm not sure they did anything to help the team. So I got them at 10-7, but they could go 9-8 as well. But
I'm going to surprise you. I actually think they go 12-5.
Wow.
To me, so I already said they're going to split the division games. They're going to split all 3 of those games. So there's 3 losses there. But after that, I mean, they got Colts away. That's a tough game in week 1. I don't know. They might surprise in that game because I don't think Carson Wentz is going to have the offense down at that point in time. Week 2, they do play Tennessee, but at home, that's a tough trip heading out to Seattle. So Tennessee, good luck on that. They got Minnesota, who I know you like a lot, but Minnesota's it's at Minnesota, so that's a tough game for them. They do go to Pittsburgh as well, but they got New Orleans at home. Green Bay, again, another one. Green Bay's going to be the whole wild card for this division. It all depends on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers plays, I think everybody could get beat by Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, no way. Washington is away for them, and then
that could be a tough game. That could be a tough game.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think that they've got enough to go 12-5. But you're right, 10-7 is not a stretch either, I guess. So we'll see.
All right.
What about San Fran?
I also got them sitting at 10-7.
Okay.
Right on the number. I mean, that's what Vegas has them at. They open up, at Pittsburgh? No, at Detroit, at Philly. So 2 easy road games to start the season. They should go 2-0 there. Looking through the schedule, they're at Jacksonville, they're at Cincinnati. They're not playing. They don't have a tough road schedule this year.
They don't.
That's
what caught my attention.
Yeah, they don't have a tough schedule. But I just don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like. Garoppolo will probably start, at the beginning of the season. How soon is it before they pull him? This team was decimated last year with injuries. Most of those guys are back and healthy. Their running back situation right now is, to me, it's just a smorgasbord of running backs that are just. Excuse a little car going by in the background there. The likes of Mostert, and they got Jeff Wilson, and I know they drafted the running back out of Ohio State. Trey Sermon's going to get in the mix there. They don't have a real running back, and they don't have I just don't think that their offense is as good as people are giving it. I do like Brandon Ayuk, got the second-year receiver there. But what is Trey Lance the answer? This team traded up to number 3 to get Trey Lance. I don't think Garoppolo is going to have a long leash this year. And I don't know, there's too many question marks for me to give this team a 12-5 or 13-4.
I will say this about Garoppolo. So Garoppolo, his only problem is availability, right? When he's healthy, he's always played very well. I mean, he's not a top 5 quarterback by any means, but he's certainly in the top 10, top 12 in my mind, probably top 12. So if he can stay healthy, he runs that offense pretty efficiently. I personally, I think these guys go 12-5.
Wow.
I think so. They're tough games. You already mentioned it, PB. All their tough games are at home. They got Green Bay at home. They got the Colts at home. They do go to the Bears. I don't think they have a problem with the Bears because it's early in the season, first of all. They get the Vikings at home. They do go to Tennessee. That game they probably lose. I think it's week 16. But other than that, the rest of the schedule, other than the divisional opponents, I mean, you already mentioned it. They got Jacksonville. They got Cincinnati. I think if they're healthy,
Okay.
that's the other problem. They got to stay healthy. They didn't stay healthy last year. Jimmy's got to stay healthy. We'll see. I don't know. I think this team, there's a high ceiling for them, and it's up to Jimmy being healthy, in my opinion.
All right. Well, I don't know. You better have some like 4 and 3 and 4 and 5 win teams coming up in the future, because it seems like every team is getting 12 or 13 wins in your book. I don't get how that happens.
All right, it gets made up with Detroit going like 2-15, and there's enough weak teams around there. Trust me.
All right. Well, and the Jimmy G thing, to me, I like what you're saying. I know he's got to be healthy, but I do get concerned with the fact that they traded up to get this guy Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance is going to sit on the bench this whole entire year just learning the system behind Jimmy G. I think he's going to get in the mix pretty quickly.
I'm not sure a guy who's only played 16 college games is ready to start in the NFL yet. That's all.
All right. Okay.
We'll see. All right, the Rams. I actually thought the Rams were the team to beat in this division. They have a big blow they took already. They lost Cam Akers. They're the only team in the division that's got to play Tampa Bay. So my concern is very high. I originally had them win the division. I think they go 11-5.
Yeah. I 11-6.
11-6. I'm sorry, 11-6. Thank you.
Well, hey, we're spot on that one, because that's what I have met as well. But for me, that 11-6 record wins the division, because
Yes.
I have San Francisco and Seattle winning 10. You got Seattle winning 12, you said, and you got San Francisco winning 12 as well.
San Fran at 12.
So you got Seattle. So you have the Rams finishing third with their 11-6 record. I have them finishing first with their 11-6 record.
All right.
To me, this is where I start to look at, maybe this could be the best defense in the NFL this year in Los Angeles.
Well, they were pretty close to it last year, right?
They were pretty close to it last year. They were definitely top 5. They're no question going to be top 5 again. Look at the schedule. It's not too bad. They do have Tampa, like you said, but that's at home. And I think early on in the season, you'll see Brady lose a few games. He usually gets hot in like November and December. So I think that's a win for the Rams. They're playing at the Giants. They're playing at Houston. Those aren't tough games. They got Jacksonville at home. They do have to go play in Baltimore towards the end of the season. But
they got to go to Green Bay. They got to go to Minnesota, and they got to go to Baltimore from week 12 on.
Yeah. But I think this team has what it takes. And we haven't even mentioned yet Stafford, right? I mean, think about what this team was doing already with the loser Goff at quarterback. I've never been a fan of that clown. And now he's heading up to Detroit, where he's going to suck even worse. But the Rams with Stafford there, and they're pretty deep at receiver. And I even they didn't have a draft pick until late in the second round.
Correct.
Drafted Tutu Atwell out of Louisville. This kid is small and he's explosive. This guy's like Tyreek Hill-esque in a way, and he could make a difference there with the Rams receiving corps. I know they lost guys like Reynolds and stuff like that, but they still got what it takes there in LA.
I will say this. So I think the jury is out on McVay. I know everybody says McVay is an offensive guru and a genius, and you said he made Goff. He's still the guy that lost the Super Bowl 13-3, lowest scoring Super Bowl ever in history, when he had a juggernaut of a team. So we'll see. He's got an ace quarterback now, although Matty Stafford, I don't think has ever won a playoff game in his life. So we'll see. There's a lot there. Originally I was with you. I thought the Rams were going to be a juggernaut, but I'm 11-5, maybe even 11-6. I'm sorry, maybe even 10-7 for these guys.
All right. Okay.
because of their schedule. I mean, they have the more challenging of the schedule, I think, especially with the games they got to go on the road for. So we'll see. It is the best division, though. In my mind, you say, hey, everybody can't be a winner, but I think the NFC West, everybody's going to be close to or over 500, if not all of them. And, they'll eat up on these other weak conferences or divisions.
Yeah. Well, even Vegas. I mean, Vegas has the Rams 10.5, San Francisco and Seattle both at 10. So Vegas is predicting basically LA to win that division as well.
Right.
Even Arizona at 8. So they do have these teams all right up there. I don't think it's another division in football where every single team, well, you have 3 teams with 10 or more wins and they're under over. So
no, you'll have this division where you could have everybody that's above 500, and you could have the NFC East once again, but everybody below 500.
very well. That very well could happen.
All right, let's. So next week, which division we want to talk about?
So we'll switch back to the AFC and let's do either the South or the West. I think we should do.
Let's stay. We'll stay West. We'll go AFC West.
All right, well, AFC West. That should be interesting.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. PB&Z Sports Chaos. I guess I'll catch a little bit of Olympic action later on. Have a good weekend. Talk to you later, PB.
All right.